somehow we didn't have a very clear plan of action for that, we lost the opportunity on silos. But we need to go back.
Silos.
We need to go back and have to silos and even granaries that they used to talk about. In each household will have a granary that will be set up. We may not use the granaries as they were in the past, but at least we could have some kind of food storage at the household level, so that you're addressing issues of food security at the household level. And that should not only happen in places which are food rich, but even in places which are food stressed. So that the national reserves, national stores of food only come in the kind of state we are in, where you have certain parts of the country under food stress. So that's, to me, something I would like to see happening in our country. I know we have lost time, a lot of time with that and opportunity, but it's never too late to go back to do the right thing. So let me close the issue of famine, of food, and then address the issue of displacement. I think I talked about it partially, and also the issue of drought.
Yeah, the issue of drought and
floods, and then food production at farm level.
Yes, sir.
And so that is, we need to change the way we grow extensively. I know people will say it's very expensive to have an irrigation system set up for 5 square miles, for example. I saw the president talking about the Minister of Agriculture's proposal on large-scale production by the prisons, the army, and the kind of institutions. But they too cannot make much difference if they are not going to produce in a smart manner. Meaning that they have to have water that is going to be available for the crops that they are going to have, which means that they should invest in technologies that will enable them to have extensive irrigation system that are low cost. Because you don't need to go and have pipe systems that are running 5 square miles when you can have a plastic sheeting that is perforated that can run that distance at a very low cost. It is much cheaper to replace the plastic than to invest in a pipe system that is going to be extremely too expensive. And you are able to cover a bigger area in a very short period of time. So, but then we have a mindset I think, in our government systems where they don't look at this low-cost irrigation system as viable because they don't take a lot of monetary portfolio. It's not a project that would require so much money. And I think as a country we have this disease of wanting large projects. I think the large projects are projects where it is easy to siphon off small monies. Are we together by some of our technocrats? So I want to think that we have the political will to increase production, but what we are lacking is the political patriotism.
Really?
Yes, the political patriotism towards some of these initiatives, because the corruption that has been sung for a long time should not be happening in Uganda.
Let me come to you. We are going bit by bit, and that has gives us an analysis on that subject matter, because we intend to look at the good information you have and relate it with what government, the role of the government in this discourse, and finally identify where the problem is, as we are saying it, so that we don't come back after maybe 2, 3 years when things either are turning around against us. And you mentioned it categorically that we have good policies. Personally, I was able to come across one. The one by the time Professor Kamuntu was the Minister of Environment. I think he's still the one?
No.
Yes?
Kamuntu, no.
Yeah, it's not now the one. 2015, that's what I'm referring to. And a policy was put in place. You who are leading this institute where you are doing your work, you are not using taxpayers' money. No. I believe I'm right.
No, we're using taxpayers' money, but not from Ugandans.
Not from Ugandans.
We're using money from development partners.
Development partners? I mean the taxpayers here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay. And again, in our short break, you referred to some countries which have gone far in these areas of action, and they are doing better. There's one of the country I'm to recall, whether it's China, whether it is Finland.
Philippines.
Yes, which is doing high level of agriculture with the effective management of their climate, and yet they are doing very well. The economy is prospering faster.
Yes.
While you were talking about that, I began to think in a wider perspective, in a broad-based way.
Yeah.
Government programs you've talked about, they come in and they are like targeting. You talk about like parish development model.
Yes.
But the parish development model, you find that in its instance, those who are the architects and the designers of parish development model, they couldn't consider the priorities and the opportunities that are already available, especially in line with cross-cutting issues. Because we had some programs that are called the Myoga program and the parish development model, which are just taken off. You are opening our eyes, let me start with myself, to look at if the government could link up in a way of going for action. It seems we could do better, even in terms of efficiency, especially efficient utilization of funds. What remains a challenge in this way? Is it the problem of the policy designers? Is it because there is a mismatch between the NGO world and the government? What can we do so that we convert even the political willingness and the patriotism? Because to me, as we critically analyze, the two still looks to be missing.
Yes.
Both the political will, yes, and the patriotism will.
Yes. So for me, I'm not saying these things to bash anyone, but I'm saying them so that, and I'm being as frank as I can be.
Yes, sir.
So that we are, when you have a wound, you don't want to cover it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if you cover it up, it will become worse. You need to expose that wound so that it can begin.
And you get medicine, then.
Get medicine, you begin to treat, to deal with it. Slowly by slowly, gently by gently, until it eventually, heals maybe a scar, but you may be lucky, and it heals very, very well, and the skin goes back to order. Yes. So what I'm saying is that the policy is there. The political will is there.
The political will?
Yes.
Okay,
the policy is there. The political will is there. Political patriotism is what is missing.
Fine.
And so for me, when I say political patriotism, what does it? Each one of us has a responsibility as a citizen of Uganda to make sure that they contribute to this country to make it better. And that's the political patriotism. Knowing that you have a responsibility as an individual in Uganda. That's the political patriotism I'm talking about. And so for me, what I would like to see is for us to try innovations that can actually change the current narrative that we have a food shortage with all this beautiful and productive land. I know people talk about fertilizers and all kind of stuff. That's fine, but I think it goes about on translating the plans and making them into reality. I want to address the issue of the impact of climate on infrastructure and the impact of the way the infrastructure that we are constructing is really affected by climate. You have seen bridges being blown off by water. Why? Because those bridges initially were not designed to address such a flood situation. You have seen our roads many times are constructed without drainage channels. And so when you have a tarmac road, it is lifted by the soaked water in the side. So the quality of the roads that we are building are not sensitive, are not resilient to the changes that are happening in the universe.
Yes.
And so we need to actually begin to construct roads and houses that are resilient to the changes to climate. And that's why you find in cases of even locating the people, in the Bududa cases that you've heard about.
Yes.
I had a story about famine, people being given food in Masaka. I was surprised. The Karamoja story may be something that you can appreciate and accept, but it's something that we should not be having when Uganda is a food basket for even many of the... We have a multiple food products that we can use. Yeah, so the indicators of you asked me about the indicators for the climate change. Of course, I talked about issues to do with the floods.
Yes.
Talked about famine. We talked about pests and diseases, food shortage, and for me, I would be interested in what are those indicators we have that will help us as a country and the region to become more resilient to the changes in climate. We need to move away from dependency on biomass for energy. We need to have more renewable energies. We need to, so as part of contributing to ameliorating the climate change impact, our energy mix has to make sure that it is much cheaper for people to use cleaner energies.
Cleaner energy you're talking of?
Cleaner energies like electricity, hydropower, solar energy, and
gas.
And gas. Gas is still a clean energy.
And you know very well that our people are still using, say, too much more of charcoal everywhere.
I was looking at some statistics, interestingly.
Yes.
Where you have almost 18% of the Ugandans, 1.6 million people, that 18%, who have connectivity to electricity. Okay? 1.6 million out of 44 something million people. That's a very small percentage. But you have statistics that are saying that you have 18% access. And for me, I want us to change the definition so that access to electricity becomes connectivity and utility and usage. For me, that is a more realistic study. Then you have 90% of Ugandans depending on charcoal and firewood. Yet we have electricity that is not being consumed. Yeah? So I would like to see a situation where more people are connected to the electric grid, whether the national or off-grid stations, and even plans to see the gas that is going to come from the oil industry containerized in Uganda National Oil Company containers and sold in Uganda at a much, much cheaper price than is being sold by gas which is being imported from abroad. So that now you have gas cylinders of, say, 3 liters, 6 liters, 12, 3 kilograms, 6 kilograms, 12 kilograms, 24, and the like, for different socioeconomic categories, the affordabilities of people. If I can't afford a 6 kilogram cylinder, I should be able to access at least a 3 kilogram cylinder. So that I now go and use gas instead of buying charcoal. And then I'll have contributed to reduction in forest degradation, yes, deforestation and forest degradation. And that to us as a country, we shall be contributing to the global climate change mitigation.
There's some information as you're discussing, we are continuing together, that I would like to avail to our viewers and listeners. You know, there's something you need to do, sir. I appreciate so far what you are doing.
Yes.
I'm also a former practitioner in matters of governance, especially in decentralized governance, having been a technocrat at the level of an accounting officer, especially in local government, in sub-counties. And one of the ways, especially looking at the relationship, we are dealing now a matter of stakeholders, participation, the role of stakeholders, the relationship of delivering that information into a reality, from where the relationship, which relationship needs to be a shared responsibility.
Yes.
Religious institutions and also districts. It seems to be wanting. We'll go into that after we will be back from a commercial break. Okay. We'll talk about the responsibility of turning this realistic information into action. Stay tuned on Smart 24 TV. Dear viewers and listeners, we continue with our discussion as we take off from the break.